Welcome back, cake lovers, drama seekers, and bake-off diehards. Holy flapjacks. This was not your average week in the tent. Season 16 Episode 4 threw down a classic British gauntlet and served up the fiercest back to school theme imaginable. We got epic nostalgia, high-stakes school-time bakes, meltdowns over muddled custard, and the cliffhangers were as sharp as a teacher's glare. Yes, folks, there was sweat, tears, broken chocolate, and a surprise exit that's still making waves across social media. Stick with me as I break down every buttery moment, every brilliant twist, and who aced due, and who totally flunked school week. Now, before we deep dive into this episode, let's remind ourselves of last week's tension. Jasmine clinched her very first Star Baker crown after 3 impressive bread challenges, cementing her reputation as one to watch. Erin had a rough ride in the signature with a loaf that barely rose, while Pui Man failed to rise to both the literal and metaphorical occasion and left the tent as the third baker. Coming into this week, the stakes felt electric. No one wanted to be expelled. As the bell rang for back to school week, the tent was transformed into a riot of school day references. Allison Hammond turned full Miss Trunchbull, barking at the bakers to address her as Miss Hammond, with everyone playfully falling back in line. You almost could smell the school lunchroom as Noel cracked jokes and the bakers nervously grinned, hoping this would be THEIR week to show off to Paul and Prue. Challenge 1. The signature. It was all about flapjacks, but with a bake-off twist. Not just a tray of stodgy, sticky oat bars. No, each baker had to serve up 12 perfectly identical flapjacks with an extra filling or topping that screamed or invented school treat. Right out the gate, Tom was ambitious, going for apple crumble flapjacks disguised in pure white chocolate apple shells. Jasmine drew inspiration from raspberry picking with her great aunt, layering freeze, dried raspberries, chocolate ganache, and a crisp-tempered chocolate across soft oat bases. Toby went rogue, reimagining carrot cake as a series of flapjacks, riding hard on the cinnamon which, spoiler alert, proved a little too strong this week. It wasn't all about childhood classics, though. Erin tried a grown-up spin with Earl Grey whipped ganache and lemon jam, aiming for subtlety and sophistication. Meanwhile, Natalia made her batch strictly adults only, layering pecans, cherries, and amaretto. Her dry Ukrainian humor about boozy flapjacks not being for school and kids getting drunk cracked up everyone. Jessica, the queen of homework, amped up her versions with poached pear, red wine reduction, stem ginger, and dark chocolate. Complex, risky, and exactly the kind of swing for the fences move that Bake Off loves and sometimes penalizes. By the halfway bell, nerves were fraying. Chocolate was refusing to set, flapjacks looked rogue sizes, and Leslie was estile frantically trying to juggle her cherry Bakewell flapjacks with a shortbread base. She literally got scolded by Paul for saying cook instead of bake. When time was up, decorations were flying, rushed toppings slid off, and more than a few bakers felt doomed for detention. Judging was ruthless. Tom's apples won genuine praise. They were clever, neat, chewy, and not over sweet. Jasmine's raspberry chocolate creations looked beautiful, though her chocolate didn't fully set. Toby's carrot cake flapjacks. Excellent texture, but heavy, handed with the cinnamon. Last week's success went a bit sideways. Natalia's batch was boozy and bold, but packed too much chocolate. Aaron, despite being skeptical after lukewarm feedback during the process, nailed the lemon lift and managed an elegant bridge of flavor with Earl Grey. Leslie's cherry Bakewell flapjack was too sweet, with the shortbread base needing more cooling, and Nadia's coconut chocolate iteration suffered from chocolate overload, drowning out the coconut entirely. Enter the brutal technical challenge. Make a classic school cake. The iconic vanilla sponge with white icing, colorful sprinkles, which they had to hand make from scratch. Yes, EVNTHESPRNKLS, and a jug of hot custard. But Prue stripped away every modern convenience. No mixers, just pure elbow grease. The bakers moaned and groaned, working muscles they forgot existed, struggling with origami piping bags, guessing at ingredients and oven timing. The drama ratcheted up as cakes collapsed, custards curdled, and sprinkles melted in residual oven heat. Sprinkles were piped into long lines instead of dots, and Picasso, and Pollock. Jokes abounded as presentation got chaotic. At judgment, Jasmine shocked herself, and everyone else, by delivering a perfectly risen sponge, flawless icing, and top-notch sprinkles to win first place. Aaron was a close second, but the overall neatness cost him the win. Nadia, Natalia, Jessica, and Tom landed in the bottom half, struggling with overbakes, heavy icing, and misshapen slices. CERN. For some, custard was either a lump, fest, or split nightmare. As we headed for the final day, the leaderboard was shifting. Jasmine's consistency and finesse made her hard to beat. Now came the monster Showstopper E.T. Create a spectacular summer feat stall display, at least one large bake, and 2 batches of 12 smaller themed items, covering 3 distinct baking disciplines. School fair nostalgia was in full swing. Toby built a hookah duck game in cake form, alongside chokes, bun tennis balls, and chicken parmesan biscuits. Jasmine also leaned into feat favorites, going for a stunning orange and elderflower cake with games, themed designs, Coit-style rosemary pretzels, and hopscotch jam biscuits. Tom, never one to shy from ambition, whipped up a science fair fantasy with a red velvet cake, crème brûlée, Petri dishes, faux and coconut mousse, coconuts, though the soft mousse threatened disaster. Leslie took on an illusion bake, making a giant coffee, walnut, meat pie, filled with brownies instead of beef, surrounded with apple shortbread and rainbow meringue lollies straight out of the 1970s. Ian wowed on presentation with an old school monitor cake, though the inside flavors didn't all deliver. Aaron was the outlier. No cake as the centerpiece, but a giant macaron stopwatch, plus bun tennis balls and peach cream cricket balls. His flavors continued to impress even as the technical macaron textures suffered cracks everywhere. Natalia went wacky with a backpack cake filled with citrus curd and mousse apples, and Nadia fought hard with 4 different bakes, giant cupcakes, shortbread, brownies, and donuts, hoping not to repeat her disastrous technical. The last hour was pure chaos. Cakes under, baked, most refused to set, buns going dahi, fondant tearing, people stressed to near tears. Some elements looked stunning, others messy, fragile, or just wrong. As judging began, Paul and Prue were honest. The six Jasmine's finesse, clever piping, and consistent flavors gave her top marks. Tom's science fair display got raves for flavor and originality despite structural issues with the coconuts. Toby's details, flavors, and balls, a chowks and tennis, thank you, were a real hit. Leslie's illusion pay looked amazing and tasted rich, meringue lollies and apple biscuits packed flavor. Aaron's flavors soared, but poor structure and underproved buns hampered his chances. Jessica's prehistoric dino cake was visually impressive, but the flavors and textures clashed, leaving judges underwhelmed and ultimately unable to redeem the bake. In the staff room, the judges debated who was at risk. Jessica and Aine languished at the bottom, while Jasmine, Toby, Tom, and Leslie looked safe. Despite Jessica's creative reputation and risk-taking, it was clear the flavor combinations this week hadn't landed. When the announcement came, Jasmine snagged her second Star Baker title in a row. Consistency, style, and substance won out. Jessica was, heartbreakingly, told she'd be leaving, with kind words about her creativity and the risks she took every week. The episode wrapped up with heartfelt goodbyes, tears, hugs, and the sense that Jasmine is a bakery force to be reckoned with heading into Chocolate Week. Jessica was gracious, celebrating her time there and the friendships she made, while Aine, feeling guilty, wished he'd been the one to go, promising to survive Chocolate Week. So what did we learn from this emotional roller coaster? Risk can pay off, but only with excellent flavors and solid execution. Creativity counts, but so does discipline, especially with the technicals that demand classic skills. Jasmine continues to dominate, earning back-to-back Star Baker status, while other favorites, Aaron, Toby, Tom, are all in the mix for future wins. And for anyone feeling inspired, the call to apply for next year is already open. Now, what did you think? Was Jessica's exit fair? Who do you want to win? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you love digging into every delicious, crunchy, and messy twist, hit that like button, share it with your bake-off buddies, and be sure to subscribe for more mouth-watering recaps. See you next week for Chocolate Week. Get ready to crack.